Chapter 2142, Moral Kidnapping is the most annoying. I've quarreled with the second section of the family and the third section for so many years. I don't want our family to quarrel again in the future. This is very good. It's not just Wulang. Boss, third brother, and the future Chi are all the same. Isn't it enough to have a proper daughter-in-law? If Wulang betrays you, I won't let him off. Xiao Xian was deeply moved by Miss Fang's words. Thank you, mother, for your unwavering support. I also trust in my husband's integrity. However, as I prepare to depart for the provincial city, I can't help but worry about the affairs here. If those family clans extend invitations or seek your presence at banquets, feel free to accept or decline as you wish. There's no need to fear or feel obliged. And if someone tries to manipulate you under the guise of politeness, don't hesitate to stand your ground and maintain your dignity. Soft knives and moral blackmail were the most annoying. In a head-on confrontation, there was nothing to worry about. If you didn't agree, you would be cold and heartless. If you didn't have any sympathy and watched others die, you would be the most annoying. Miss Fang was annoyed by what Xiao Xian said as well. She nodded. Don't worry, I know what to do. Your second aunt-in-law and third aunt-in-law like this, so annoying. Xiao Xian chuckled, feeling relieved. She was well aware of how formidable her mother-in-law could be when faced with people like Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma. If anyone dared to provoke Ms. Fang in a similar manner, they would undoubtedly regret it. Mother, don't let them get to you. They're not worth your time and energy, Xiao Xian reassured. Miss Fang laughed heartily in agreement. You're absolutely right. With more than half of the roads repaired, Xiao Xian bid farewell to Miss Fang and embarked on the journey to the provincial city with Anan. Miss Fang could easily visit both the province and An's province in a single day if she missed her grandson. Though she longed to visit Xiao Yunduan, she hesitated to bring any inconvenience to him. So, she simply instructed Xiao Xian to inform her if Xiao Yunduan had any free time. Xiao Xian understood his sentiment and nodded in agreement. Xiao Yunduan must be preoccupied with his responsibilities and wouldn't be able to return to An's province soon. However, knowing he was nearby already brought her a sense of comfort, knowing he could return whenever needed. Xiao Yunduan was overjoyed when Xiao Xian and their child arrived at the provincial city. Absence had indeed intensified their bond. Reunited, they found solace in each other's arms, relishing the profound affection that united them. Xiao Yunduan had eagerly awaited his wife's arrival, longing for her presence to ease his fatigue. He yearned to have her by his side, finding solace in her embrace. The following day, Xiao Yunduan made time to accompany Xiao Xian as they toured the mansion's grounds and met with the servants. With most of Prefect Liu's staff no longer present at the intermediate office, they had transferred over several servants from An's province, leaving only a handful acquired at the last minute. There were not many people, only 12 in total. This was extremely rare for such a huge mansion. Xiao Xian brought 10 more people with her, including Anan's servants. It was still a little too little. Later, she would pick it from the human broker's hand and slowly replenish it. Xiao Yunduan let out a sigh of relief. As long as she was here, he would not have to worry about anything. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2143, Old Trade, Exploration. Xiao Xian arrived in Huaishi province accompanied by Mianmian, Lixia, and Songshi, while Lu Fu and Tao Tao remained sufficient for their needs in An's province. Once settled, Songshi wasted no time in leading his team out of the city, resuming their familiar pursuit, exploration. Spanning across the vast expanse of Huaishi, exploration was paramount for logistical assurance. For Xiao Xian, unlocking and cultivating new lands meant ensuring bountiful harvests. Had it not been for their desire to avoid undue attention and astonishment, their yields wouldn't just be ample but staggering, enough to defy belief. Thus, Xiao Xian wasted no time in dispatching Songshi to locate suitable territories upon their arrival in the province. Enthusiastic and invigorated by his new venture, Songshi embraced his role with zeal, leading his team personally in their quest. Xiao Xian had already formulated her plan to tap into underground springs within the flatlands. With a secure water source, transforming the terrain into fertile grounds became a viable prospect. Expanding into arid expanses, they could procure fruit-bearing trees from Yuzhang, introducing varieties such as longan, lychee, mango, mangosteen, pineapple, banana, dragon fruit, and more, for both domestic consumption and exportation. Indeed, the cultivation of these fruit trees was unprecedented in the region. Regardless of the abundance of sugarcane, it remained a lucrative commodity exchangeable for currency. Cotton, with its promising future demand, held significance as a key material. Furthermore, increased production of silver fungus, mushrooms, tea tree mushrooms, wood fungus, and similar goods could generate substantial revenue. This initiative wasn't limited to the province's periphery. Expansion into other counties was viable, emphasizing the necessity for large-scale operations. Xiao Xian shared her vision with Xiao Yunduan, who wholeheartedly endorsed it, deeply moved by his wife's unwavering dedication to their shared prosperity. His gratitude overflowed, strengthening his love for her. In her presence, his affection knew no bounds, his heart longing to be hers completely. To facilitate her endeavors, Xiao Yunduan appointed 2 scribes to heed Xiao Xian's directives and manage logistical affairs. Recognizing his wife as more than a mere homemaker, Xiao Yunduan affirmed her rightful place by his side, deserving of admiration and respect, embodying virtues beyond domesticity. Xiao Xian's acceptance of the responsibility was met with genuine enthusiasm. "Why not?" she responded, her confidence unwavering. In An's province, Madame Xiao's capabilities were widely acknowledged, earning unanimous approval. While some officials within the magistrate's office harbored reservations, adhering to traditional gender roles dictating women's confinement to domestic affairs, the prevailing sentiment didn't deter Madame Xiao's assent. For the public servants, the notion of a woman assuming authoritative roles within governmental affairs seemed preposterous. Yet, they dared not voice dissent openly, resorting instead to private grumblings and veiled mockery. However, neither Xiao Xian nor Xiao Yunduan paid heed to such murmurs, their focus unwavering in the face of skepticism. Under Song's meticulous oversight, and with Xiao Xian's active involvement, plans were set into motion. Within days of their arrival in the provincial capital, invitations were dispatched to the esteemed wives of local elite families and key officials, summoning them to a banquet. The purpose was twofold: to forge alliances and gauge their perspectives and values, and to assuage any lingering doubts or concerns among the populace. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2144, Opening the Situation. The esteemed guests, including both madams and young ladies, attended the banquet with evident enthusiasm. For Xiao Xian, the occasion presented an opportunity to assess and scrutinize each attendee, a sentiment shared by all present. Nobody wished to miss out on such a significant gathering. Xiao Xian's adeptness at social interaction put everyone at ease, fostering an atmosphere of conviviality. Lord Xiao's competence and charisma, complemented by Madame Xiao's own charm, boded well for both Huaishi and the familial clans. However, Xiao Xian was taken aback to find Fan Ruyan and Bai Ruerue among the guests. The presence of the Fan family, with relatives in the provincial capital, explained their attendance. Fan Ruyan's thinly veiled attempt to flaunt her supposed special relationship with Xiao Xian irked the latter deeply, eliciting a sense of disdain. It appeared that her husband remained vigilant, as neither mother nor daughter found an opportunity to draw near him. Yet, their persistence in pestering Xiao Xian was relentless. Tolerating their presence now was akin to displaying them to others, providing them with a false sense of comfort. In the past, Xiao Xian would not have entertained them to this extent. She would have addressed the situation more firmly. However, Xiao Xian had her limits. If pushed further, she would not hesitate to draw the line. In response to Fan Ruyan's demeanor, Xiao Xian maintained a polite yet distant demeanor, neither endorsing nor indulging her. She treated the relationship between their families as ordinary, devoid of any special significance. There was no closeness between them, nor any underlying conflicts. That was the extent of their connection. Observing Xiao Xian's composed response, the other madams exchanged knowing glances. They were astute enough to read between the lines. Despite hailing from the same province as Madame Xiao, Fan Rian's exclusion from the guest list spoke volumes. Madame Xiao's discernible warmth towards others contrasted sharply with her apparent detachment from Mrs. Bai. Such initial impressions mattered greatly, they offered insights into one's character. And Madame Xiao's amiable disposition left a favorable impression on the gathered guests. However, the palpable distance between Madame Xiao and Mrs. Bai intrigued many, sparking curiosity. Upon returning home, they would undoubtedly seek to uncover the reasons behind Madame Xiao's apparent aversion, hoping to glean valuable lessons from the situation. As the guests observed Mrs. Bai and her daughter, an unspoken consensus seemed to emerge, a subtle shift in perception, casting doubt on their worthiness of companionship. If Fan Rian were to discover that her efforts had not only failed to bridge the gap but had instead fueled disdain, the blow to her pride would likely be unbearable. Yet, she found herself powerless to alter the situation. Their prolonged stay in the province had yielded no access to the corridors of power nor any audience with Xiao Yunduan, leaving them in a state of impotence. While Qiao Xian harbored no fondness for them, Fan Rian perceived their encounter as a reunion with an old friend in unfamiliar territory. She presumed Madame Xiao might require her assistance, fostering a false sense of closeness. But Qiao Xian's steadfast resistance caught them off guard. Bai Ruerue, too, sensed impending defeat. With each passing day, Xiao Yunduan's influence only grew stronger. How could they remain so vigilant in the face of their dwindling prospects? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2145. Another plan. Xiao Yunduan's estimation of them would undoubtedly plummet if they failed to demonstrate astuteness. Following the banquet, the mother and daughter sank deeper into despondency and anxiety. The tantalizing prospect of untold riches lay before them like a glistening mountain of gold, visible only to their eyes. Yet, it remained frustratingly out of reach, taunting them with its unattainable allure. "Mother, what do we do now? What do we do?" Bai Ruirua's distress was palpable, her agitation evident in her sleepless nights and dwindling appetite, her once plump figure now noticeably diminished. Such concerns for one's future and glory were enough to unsettle even the most composed. Gritting her teeth, Fan Rian considered their options. "Why don't we resort to our old tactics?" Her voice trailed off with resignation. However, their previous methods held little promise. Xiao Yunduan remained impervious to their overtures, and Madame Xiao's newfound influence rendered their usual schemes futile. Bai Ruerue, grasping for a solution, suggested a different approach. "Mother, why don't we appeal to Madame Xiao directly? Xiao Yunduan's status has evolved, and he will inevitably seek alliances with influential families. Our Fan family holds significance, it's in his interest to bring us into his fold. I pledge my allegiance to him and support Madame Xiao in any endeavor. She would have no reason to refuse." Fan Rian's eyes sparkled with hope at the suggestion, recognizing its potential. However, a shadow of doubt lingered. While appealing to Madame Xiao directly is indeed a viable option, we must tread carefully. Let's not forget, Madame Xiao is possessive of Lord Xiao, she won't tolerate anyone encroaching upon their relationship. No prominent family has yet proposed a marriage alliance with Lord Xiao, indicating her reluctance to entertain such propositions. If she rejects our proposal, our chances will dwindle to nothing. Perhaps we should bide our time. When a newcomer threatens her position, we can offer our allegiance willingly. That way, she'll be more inclined to accept us gratefully. Bai Ruirua's agreement was genuine, her smile reflecting her earnestness. "Mother, your strategy is sound. We just need to discern the right moment, time was of the essence." With each passing year, their prospects dwindled. Bai Ruirua's youth and beauty were fleeting assets, and waiting too long risked squandering her prime years, leaving her at a disadvantage against younger rivals. Fan Rian shared her daughter's concerns, her gaze flickering with determination. "It's not difficult. These prominent families simply haven't considered our approach yet. When they do, competition will be fierce. But until then, let them remain oblivious. Despite the diminished status of the Fan family, their influence still loomed large. Fan Ruyan saw no need to exert herself unnecessarily. With existing connections and alliances within the province, sowing discord would be effortless. Time was of the essence. They needed to light the cold stove before others beat them to it. Once the idea crossed someone's mind, action would surely follow. As Lord Shao endeavored to garner support and foster goodwill, Madame Shao would undoubtedly welcome overtures from prominent families. Fan Ruyan harbored no concerns about her urgency in this matter. The prospect brought a glimmer of satisfaction to Fan Ruyan's thoughts. Even if Madame Shao rejected Bai Ruirua's proposal, she would still be obliged to maintain her virtuous and gracious demeanor. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2146. Late anger. As Bai Ruirue heard her mother's reassuring words, she couldn't contain her joy. She embraced Fan Ruyan's arm tightly, rubbing against her affectionately. "Mother, you're brilliant. I knew you'd come up with something." Fan Ruyan smirked, lightly patting her daughter's hand. "Just wait and watch. We'll see results soon enough." Meanwhile, Sun Pu, Prefect Lu, and their cohorts trembled with fear as they faced Xiao Yunduan's wrath. Prefect Lu, in particular, was terrified. Xiao Yunduan likely discerned the Sun family's machinations against him. Retaliation could mean his demise. Yet, to their astonishment, Xiao Yunduan didn't spill blood. Instead, he expelled them all. In truth, Xiao Yunduan's actions were unnecessary. Once freed, they wished they had extra legs to escape faster, almost disowning their families in the process. Prefect Lu was ready to forsake everything, including his amassed wealth. The group of several hundred individuals pressed on relentlessly, traveling day and night for 3 days until they finally reached Ning City's main camp. Here, they breathed a collective sigh of relief. They were safe at last. Yet, even in their safety, Sun Pu and Prefect Lu found themselves consumed by anger once more. Recalling the humiliation of being driven out by Xiao Yunduan, their indignation flared anew. The humiliation was unbearable. For Sun Pu, a scion of the Sun family and a relative of the emperor, his exalted status had shielded him from such indignities. Accustomed to adulation from a young age, he had never experienced such disgrace. Nearly losing his life was unthinkable. Who was Xiao Yunduan to dare treat him with such contempt? At this moment, he did not think that Xiao Yunduan was letting him leave the province because he believed Xiao Yunduan wouldn't dare to kill him. Sun Pu's indignation mingled with a hint of pride. The Sun family's reputation and his connection to the emperor supposedly shielded him from such dire consequences. But the audacity of Xiao Yunduan's rebellion against established authority ignited Sun Pu's fury to new heights. Scolding Xiao Yunduan offered only temporary relief. Sun Pu redirected his frustration towards Prefect Lu, venting his rage at the incompetence displayed by someone under his supervision. Prefect Lu, meanwhile, was plunged into a despair so profound it bordered on physical illness. How could he have foreseen Xiao Yunduan's audacious move, especially after his expulsion from the capital? Sent to An's province, an impoverished region rife with banditry, Xiao Yunduan seemed inconsequential. But now, his actions had upended their lives in unexpected ways. Upon hearing that Xiao Yunduan openly challenged the bandits and intended to eradicate them, Sun Pu burst into uproarious laughter, nearly spilling his tea in the process. He exchanged jests with the Grandmaster, amused by the audacity of a scholar, once immersed in books, now daring to confront danger head-on. Little did Sun Pu anticipate Xiao Yunduan's success. Even more surprising was Xiao Yunduan's ulterior motive for venturing to An's province. Not only did he manage to quell the bandits, but he also cunningly enlisted them into service, assuming the role of a bailiff in the government office. In hindsight, Sun Pu regretted not taking Xiao Yunduan's actions more seriously. He should have recognized the signs of rebellion when Xiao Yunduan suppressed the bandits. He should have heeded the warning when Xiao Yunduan refused to pay taxes. But alas, he missed every opportunity to thwart Xiao Yunduan's ambitions. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2147, Revenge in the End. Prefect Lu discarded his armor and fled, leaving behind a vast fortune accumulated over the years. Silver, gold, jewelry, antiques, precious calligraphy, paintings, exquisite rosewood furniture, top-quality silk and satin, all left behind in his haste. The pain in his heart was palpable as he realized the extent of his losses. Prefect Lu wept bitterly, consumed by regret and self-directed scorn for his own foolishness. But Xiao Yunduan, ever the cunning strategist, had long harbored ambitions of rebellion. He meticulously concealed his intentions, leaving Prefect Lu in the dark and vulnerable to his machinations. Prefect Liu's anger abated somewhat, replaced by a seething hatred towards Xiao Yunduan. The desire for vengeance burned within him, compelling him to seek retribution. Who does he think he is, daring to rebel? Look at him. If he hadn't been caught off guard, how could he have fallen to a mere scholar? Sun Pu seethed with indignation, his anger driving him to immediate action. Mobilizing his troops, he assembled a formidable force of 20,000 soldiers, intent on reclaiming his lost honor in the city of Huaishi province. He couldn't allow himself to remain disgraced, especially as the son of General Sunday. Furthermore, the emperor's cousin had entrusted him with the task of pacifying and reclaiming this territory. He had pledged his word and his honor to fulfill this duty. Sun Pu was determined to conquer Huaishi province, no matter the cost. Unexpectedly, the heavens opened up, unleashing a torrential downpour upon the land. Rain cascaded down like a celestial river overflowing its banks, transforming the earth into a vast sea. Such inclement weather rendered marching impossible. Even if provisions were available, navigating the treacherous roads would prove arduous. Potholes and mud littered the terrain, transforming the once formidable army into bedraggled, mud-soaked soldiers. For Sun Pu, there was no choice but to wait patiently, as the rain showed no signs of relenting. This wait lasted for 7 to 8 days. Sun Pu was furious. Even the heavens were going against him. Despite the setbacks caused by the rain, Sun Pu remained resolute in his original plan to swiftly attack Huaishi province's city and catch them off guard. Yet, his intentions were thwarted when the enemy set a trap for him. Although his forces quickly regained their composure, they suffered losses of 200 to 300 men. The sense of grievance among them only intensified. Exposed during their failed assault on the city, they now had no option but to face prepared defenses head-on. Sun Pu resolved to organize his forces into a formation and launch a frontal assault. With 10,000 men at his command, he felt confident in his numerical superiority over Xiao Yunduan's purportedly smaller force. Yet, Sun Pu underestimated the strength of his adversaries, including Zheng Sang, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and others, who stood firmly in defense of Huaishi province. Their combined might posed a formidable obstacle to Sun Pu's ambitions. Sun Pu's frustration reached its peak when Sun Bai refused to engage in direct combat, instead retreating to the safety of the city walls. Despite Sun Pu's furious orders to attack, his forces gained no ground against the fortified defenses. Desperate for a breakthrough, Sun Pu resorted to daily attempts to goad Xiao Yunduan's forces into battle through scolding and humiliation. But the defenders remained steadfast, refusing to take the bait. Frustrated and at his wits' end, Sun Pu's situation worsened when Xiao Yunduan's forces launched a surprise ambush one night. 1,000 elite soldiers descended upon Sun Pu's camp, intent on eliminating him and ending his feudal campaign. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2148, Defeated. If not for the vast difference in military might between the opposing forces, Sun Pu's entire army might have faced annihilation. Yet, caught off guard by the suddenness of the attack amidst the veil of night, Sun Pu's military encampment lay entrenched in deep slumber. Ill-prepared, they suffered staggering losses from the onset. Though night patrols and sentries were in place, veterans like Zheng Sang and Wu Guan, despite their decade-long absence from the battlefield, boasted a wealth of experience from countless skirmishes in the northwest. Their adversaries, the formidable Beihu people and the nomadic tribes of the grasslands, possessed a ferocity Sun Pu could hardly match. Despite numerical and martial imbalances, dispatching Sun Pu proved as effortless as slicing through ripe melons. Silently, sentry posts fell one by one, their destruction meticulously timed against the patrol's movements. Before the patrols could react, a legion of 1,000 elite soldiers breached the encampment's defenses. Amidst the chaos, flames licked the night sky, mingling with the cacophony of shouts and the thundering hooves of panicked steeds. Sun Pu's forces were thrown into disarray, resembling headless insects, scrambling to evade the relentless assault. The stampede to flee mirrored a swarm of panicked insects following a leader, a frenzy of pushing and trampling, punctuated by cries and screams echoing in the darkness. Upon hearing this, the fear clutching his heart tightened its grip, propelling him into an even more frantic flight. Thus, Sun Pu's formidable force of 10,000 men found themselves reduced to a pitiable state at the hands of a mere 1,000 elite soldiers, fleeing for hundreds of miles under the cover of darkness. Unaware that they were pursued by only a fraction of their assumed numbers, Sun Pu presumed a force 6 or 7 times larger hot on their heels. With the break of dawn, Jing Sang and Wu Guan ordered their men to halt pursuit, affording Sun Pu's remnants a moment's respite. Even in their surprise assault, 1,000 against 10,000, it was implausible to completely overwhelm the opposition. Once Sun Pu's forces realized the true scale of their pursuers, fortune would favor the undermanned. Furthermore, Xiao Yunduan harbored no desire for enmity with the second prince or his forces. Sun Pu's aggression only served to underscore Xiao Yunduan's reluctant resistance, a circumstance not of his choosing but thrust upon him, and likewise, his soldiers. Hence, the second prince found himself unable to reproach such a retaliatory strike. However, total annihilation of Sun Pu and his forces would undoubtedly provoke further conflict. Even if it meant reclaiming lost honor, the second prince would undoubtedly dispatch his troops for retribution. Xiao Yunduan was acutely aware of the stakes and his actions. Even in defeat, Sun Pu had none to blame but himself. In the aftermath of the battle, Sun Pu's ranks were decimated, with 7,000 souls lost upon regrouping his troops. Most heartbreaking was that many of these casualties were inflicted by their own comrades in the ensuing chaos. Sun Pu seethed with fury, vowing vengeance against Xiao Yunduan to his very core, swearing to reclaim his dignity as General Sun's son. Yet, with a mere 3,000 survivors at his disposal, immediate reprisal was out of reach. Sun Pu had no choice but to seek aid. Too humiliated to lead his defeated troops back, he ordered them to establish camp while he and a select few returned to rally reinforcements. The prospect of seeking help was a bitter pill to swallow, his pride wounded. Despite berating Prefect Lu in a fit of rage, Sun Pu now found himself sharing Xiao Yunduan's fate. The sting of humiliation was swift and profound. However, if he did not personally go back to get reinforcements, who knew when he would be able to move over if he only sent a deputy general back? He did not want to wait, nor could he wait. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2149, Seeking Revenge. Restlessness gnawed at him. Without seeking revenge, he couldn't find peace. Furthermore, with the emperor's cousin still embroiled in conflict against the fourth prince in Hunan, Sun Pu had to resolve the situation flawlessly before the cousin's return. Failure would not only disappoint the emperor's cousin but also risk his father's disapproval. Among them were several contenders, bound by blood as cousins, clan brethren, and promising talents, intensifying the rivalry among them. Opportunities to make a mark were scarce, and Sun Pu knew he had to seize any chance to shine. Falling short would likely dim his prospects for standing out in the future. Driven by his aspirations and pride, Sun Pu cast aside caution, resolved to mobilize reinforcements at any cost. In Huaishi province, the populace and officials harbored newfound confidence in Xiao Yunduan after their victory in the initial skirmish. Following the battle, Xiao Yunduan hastened to An's province to reassure Qiao Xian before swiftly returning to Huaishi. This time, he was accompanied by his wife, Qiao Xian, and their son, Anan. 3 days after Qiao Xian hosted a lavish banquet for the noblewomen and dignitaries of Huaishi province, Xiao Yunduan received alarming news. Sun Pu was marching towards Huaishi province at the head of a 50,000-strong army. The gleam of armor and the glint of cold, sharp weapons heralded their advance, accompanied by a seemingly endless convoy of supply-laden carriages. Catapults, ladders, and other siege equipment adorned their ranks, signaling Sun Pu's unwavering determination to seize the provincial capital this time. He aimed to expose Xiao Yunduan's alleged rebellion, eager to vindicate his suspicions and prove his righteousness. In his mind, not only was he innocent, but he also sought to claim credit for his actions. With 50,000 soldiers under his command, Sun Pu possessed ample force to lay waste to Huaixi province. Despite his confidence, he still regarded Xiao Yunduan with disdain. He believed his previous defeat stemmed from underestimating Xiao Yunduan's cunning, falling prey to his adversary's traps. But he resolved not to repeat that mistake. There would be no second loss. Xiao Yunduan would be deluding himself if he thought he could outmaneuver Sun Pu's numerical superiority. Furthermore, Sun Pu would leave no room for chance, issuing a direct order to attack the city. With 50,000 formidable soldiers at his command, Sun Pu exuded a confidence not to be trifled with. He aimed to assert dominance and secure an advantageous position, yet Sun Pu's forces made no effort to conceal their presence, acting brazenly and with impunity, heedless of detection. They even boasted of being an 80,000-strong elite force. Anticipating a grueling battle, Xiao Yunduan, Jing Sang, and their comrades were prepared for the onslaught. Presently, they could muster between 6,000 to 8,900 soldiers, including a contingent of hastily trained recruits. On the flip side, Jing Sang and Wu Guan felt a resurgence of their battlefield fervor. They thumped their chests, vowing to Xiao Yunduan that victory would be theirs. Facing a newcomer like Sun Pu, defeat seemed improbable. Despite Sun Pu's formidable reputation, his presence sent ripples of unease through Huaixi province. However, the continued operation of the local government and the presence of Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian's family within the city brought a modicum of reassurance. Fan Rian brimmed with excitement, sensing opportunity once more. She frequented the mansions, aligning herself firmly with Xiao Yunduan's cause and rallying support in his favor. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know it report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2150, She's paving the way for her daughter. Lord Xiao's love for the people rivals that of a father for his own children. His prowess assures victory in this battle. Who does Sun Pu think he is? If Lord Xiao could defeat him once, he can do it again. Our Lord Xiao excels in leveraging numbers to triumph. Those marauders who've plagued An's province for over a decade will meet their end at his hands. Lord Xiao is blessed with luck. We needn't fret over a thing. Let's simply lead good lives. Lord Xiao is astute, he must have foreseen this and made preparations. We can entrust everything to him. Fan Rian's incessant praise of Lord Xiao painted her as his staunchest supporter. To her, everything Lord Xiao uttered was gospel truth. Yet, her motivations were not purely altruistic. By championing Lord Xiao, she positioned herself favorably in his eyes. She was clearing the path for her daughter's future. Fan Rian's words resonated with some families, prompting introspection. They recognized the logic in her sentiments. After all, Lord Xiao had demonstrated his mettle by overcoming formidable odds and emerging victorious with fewer troops. It was evident that he possessed true capability. Therefore, they decided to observe the unfolding events with keen interest. Regrettably, Fan Rian's foresight faltered when it came to the ultimate outcome. With Sun Pu's forces encroaching upon the city, Xiao Yunduan convened discussions with Jing Sang, Jia Hemming, and their cohorts. They issued a flurry of directives, setting their plans swiftly into motion. The city boasted ample supplies of food, medicine, and weaponry, along with a robust defense force. However, mere defense wasn't their aim. They sought to turn the tide of the situation. But first, they needed to quell the populace's fears. In addition to offering reassuring guidance, they bolstered patrols to swiftly extinguish any rumors that could stoke panic and disrupt order, nipping potential chaos in the bud. Fan Rian's compliments went unnoticed by the officials tasked with monitoring public sentiment. As long as the prominent families remained outwardly innocent, they deemed their job done. Recording the source of the positive remarks was of little concern to them. their focus lay on identifying any potentially disruptive behavior. Unaware of Fan Ruin's words, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian remained oblivious to the situation. Fan Ruin's efforts proved futile, leaving her to wonder if she would be incensed if she knew the truth. Meanwhile, Sun Pu's army established their camp 20 miles from Huaixi province, positioned against a towering mountain with ready access to water from the nearby river. Although the mountain lacked formidable defenses or strategic advantages, it served as a reliable water source and stood as a symbol of the ordinary, yet expansive, landscape awaiting reclamation and cultivation. The valley stretching at the mountain's base was predominantly cultivated by farmers from nearby villages. Sun Pu's army, encamped nearby, paid little heed to these agricultural endeavors. Despite the absence of immediate danger, Sun Pu remained indifferent. His focus remained fixed on his original objective, to besiege the city. In his eyes, with 50,000 soldiers at his disposal, offense was the best defense. He harbored no desire to be caught off guard again. This time, even if the opposing forces attempted a nocturnal ambush, they would find no opportunity to gain the upper hand. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2151. She likes this perfect. Sun Pu wanted to make it clear to them that in the face of overwhelming strength, all schemes and plots were futile. Xiao Yunduan and his companions were aware of Sun Pu's camp location, yet the opposition remained undeterred, revealing nothing. Zheng Sang scoffed, if the Sun family's descendants are all like this, their decline is inevitable. It's regrettable that old General Sun is fated to meet his end here. In truth, old General Sun's heroic reputation had already faded. It was lost amidst the power struggles among the capital's princes. The current Sun was but a shadow of the valiant and honorable general he once was on the battlefield. More sorrowful than witnessing a hero's decline was seeing them turn to villainy. Xiao Yunduan declared, I lack prowess in combat. Mr. Zheng, you lead the battle, and Deputy Prefect Jia oversees logistics. I'll manage affairs here, awaiting your triumphant return. Zheng Sang and Jia Hemming rose and bowed. You can rely on us, Lord. Xiao Yunduan wasn't solely responsible for maintaining order and overseeing affairs, but he certainly wasn't idle either. He made it a point to appear at the city's highest point daily to uplift morale. Within a span of just 3 days, Sun Pu's forces would settle in and initiate their assault on the city. Xiao Xian couldn't help but chuckle upon learning that Sun Pu's army had stationed themselves 20 miles away from Huaixi province at the mountain's base. This was exactly to her liking. Even within the city confines, her abilities could extend in one direction, effectively covering over 20 miles. As the wife of a soldier, it was only natural for her to lend her assistance as Huaixi province's troops approached the city. In the afternoon, Xiao Xian intended to patrol the city walls alongside Xiao Yunduan. Upon meeting his gaze, Xiao Xian showed no fear. She gently tugged at his sleeve, whispering, Please take me with you, my husband. You're tasked with reassuring and uplifting spirits. By accompanying you, I too can offer reassurance and boost morale. If even a feeble woman like myself isn't afraid, what is there to fear? Xiao Yunduan found amusement in her unconventional request. With a smile, he replied, Your logic is undeniable. If you're keen on joining, then let's proceed. Change into your riding attire, and we'll set off together. All right. Xiao Xian was thrilled. She swiftly changed into her riding gear, pulling her hair up into a high ponytail. Following suit were Li Qiu, Kaiyue, and the others accompanying her, all donning similar attire. They exuded a sense of valor and vigor. Considering their mission to boost morale, it seemed fitting. The results surpassed expectations. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan appeared at the city summit, Xiao Xian and her attendants adorned in attire radiating heroism and strength. The soldiers atop the walls were invigorated, brimming with newfound confidence. To witness even Madame Xiao, a woman, displaying such determination and courage, what reason did the men have to fear? Xiao Xian was pleased with the outcome. Elevating morale and fortifying the army's spirit laid the groundwork for victory. Winning the initial battle on this foundation would be even more exhilarating. Upon returning to the government office's courtyard, Xiao Xian strolled through the garden. Utilizing the surrounding flora as conduits, she casually and discreetly tapped into her unique ability, swiftly and silently making her way toward Sun Pu's army encampment. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2152, Land collapse. 20 miles didn't seem like a daunting distance, especially for someone with her superpower. However, the prospect of eliminating 50,000 people in one fell swoop presented a formidable challenge. Xiao Xian had never entertained such a thought. The idea alone felt surreal. Should Xiao Yunduan and the province of Huaishi fall into the clutches of malevolent forces, the consequences would be dire. Nor would Xiao Xian ever entertain the notion of sacrificing so many lives. She didn't even consider tampering with their supplies. With a mere thought, she could reduce their provisions to a muddy mess within a 500-meter radius. But she refrained. Beyond the city walls lay numerous villages and hamlets. The arrival of 50,000 soldiers and their menacing aura forced the common folk to shutter their homes or flee to the safety of distant relatives and friends. Should their provisions be destroyed, the likelihood of the soldiers turning to plunder the innocent villagers was a grim certainty. Such a scenario was unacceptable to Xiao Xian. Her focus remained fixed on their siege equipment, ladders and catapults. Thus, without warning, the ground beneath Sun Pu's army, where the catapults and ladders were stationed, silently gave way. Ensnared by the roots of ancient trees that seemed to stir with life, the siege weapons were rendered useless, reduced to a heap of rubble unfit for further use. The intermediate camp buzzed with activity, filled with the clamor of people and the rhythmic trudging of feet. Positioned inconspicuously at the northeastern corner, the ladder and catapult drew little attention amid the bustling surroundings. Hence, no one took notice of anything amiss. Though a fleeting sound caught his ear, it seemed inconsequential, and he dismissed it without further thought. After all, who could anticipate the ground subtly yielding beneath them, swallowing everything in its path? Xiao Xian deliberately moved with caution to avoid drawing attention. Satisfied that her actions went unnoticed, Xiao Xian smiled contentedly as she set about preparing dinner for her husband and son. Come what may, they must eat well. For she knew the heavens wouldn't fall. With renewed determination, she poured her energy into crafting a savory meal to ensure their comfort. As the bustling camp settled into evening, Sun Pu resolved to launch his attack come morning. Impatient anticipation fueled his eagerness for battle. In a war, when his side had the advantage, he naturally had to kill the other party in one go. The longer he delayed, the more morale would be affected. This was not beneficial to him at all. Being a descendant of the Sun family, he grasped such straightforward reasoning effortlessly. His accompanying generals eagerly flexed their fists in anticipation, eager to seize the opportunity for military acclaim while in his company. Moreover, as a defector and once the emperor's top advisor and the crown prince's favored confidant, defeating him would catapult any general to newfound fame. The anticipation among the generals surged even higher. Prefect Lu, sharing Sun Pu's conviction, joined the fray. Like Sun Pu, he harbored unwavering confidence in their impending victory. He clung to hopes of reclaiming his lost fortunes within the province, undeterred by Xiao Yunduan's appropriation of his wealth. For him, reclaiming his wealth was merely a matter of carving a path through the opposition. Sun Pu recognized his significance. After all, Prefect Liu's tenure as magistrate held sway in these territories. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2153, Strange. He knew this place like the back of his hand. After the city was attacked, he had to rely on Prefect Lu to appease the people and stabilize the situation. Only Prefect Lu had such influence. The citizens would only feel reassured when they saw a familiar face like his. Sun Pu firmly believed that the residents of the city were loyal to the empire and would never side with Xiao Yunduan. He was determined to save them in this battle. Everything had been arranged for Xiao Yunduan and the Huaishi province. However, just before dawn, as they were preparing to set off, a junior officer responsible for guarding the catapults and siege ladders stumbled in. His face was pale, and he stammered in fear as he reported what he had witnessed. Good luck and favorable omens were crucial at the start of the campaign. Seeing the officer rush in with a pale, terrified expression, Sun Pu was initially very displeased and felt like reprimanding him. But upon hearing the officer's report, he was left dumbfounded. "I think you haven't woken up yet. What nonsense are you talking about? Do you realize I could have you executed for demoralizing the troops? General, please forgive me. Even if I had 100 lives, would never dare to spout nonsense. Everything I said is true. I am just as puzzled." Sun Pu, furious, kicked the leader aside and rushed over like a whirlwind. He wanted to personally expose the supposed lie. Unexpectedly, what he saw was chaos and a huge pit. "What's going on?" Sun Pu's eyes widened, and he gritted his teeth, feeling a surge of murderous intent. How unlucky. He was on the verge of a breakdown just before setting off. The leader, still staggering, knelt down with a long face and said, "General, I don't know what happened either." Sun Pu kicked him again and drew his sword, pointing its tip at him as he scolded, "You don't know?" The commotion was huge. "How dare you say you don't know anything? Are you deaf or blind?" The leader, writhing in pain and nearly blacking out, remained kneeling and begged for mercy. "I am innocent, General. I wasn't slacking off. But this is Huaishi province, and Xiao Yunduan is so cunning. He must have sent someone to sabotage us. Yes, it must be him." Sun Pu's heart skipped a beat. He actually believed it a little. Xiao Yunduan was indeed a cunning man. He would definitely do such a thing. Perhaps he had really schemed against him. But, even so, you didn't put in enough effort. If you were truly vigilant in doing your job, how could you only realize something was wrong at this moment? Killing you wouldn't be wrong at all. Sun Pu raised his sword, genuinely wanting to kill. His trusted aide hurriedly stopped him and reminded him, "General, the battle is imminent. It's not appropriate to shed blood now. Please reconsider." Sun Pu sneered and retracted his sword. He ordered his men to tie up the leader and everyone who had been on night duty the previous evening. "I'll settle the score with him after I take down Huaishi province." "General, should we proceed with the attack on the city?" another general asked softly. Sun Pu's face darkened again. He was so angry he felt like he was about to vomit blood. The mobilization had already been mobilized, and they had already ordered everyone to gather. They would set off in an hour. Of course, they had to fight this battle. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible.